on Robin Hood Radio. It's been a while since we've spoken to Chris Weld from the Berkshire Mountain Distillers. A lot is going on there. Doesn't matter what month of the year it is. And Chris, before we got on the air, mentioned something to me that I didn't realize that you're coming upon, or you're at your 15th anniversary already.
Feels like 40, but 15 this April. So it's going to be a momentous year for us, to say the least.
Wow, 15 years now. You're one of the early distillers that was established in the tri-state region, weren't you?
We're one of the early ones in the country. It when I started, there were about 50 of us nationwide, so about one a state. And I lose track, but I think the number now is around 2,500 or so. So we are certainly one of the pioneers, and I feel fortunate to still be alive and kicking and making progress and doing some really fun things.
All right, especially after the past year and a half, 2 years that we've been through. Now, before we get back to your 15th anniversary and other things, you have this craft brewers project that's been going on. Are you releasing another one, a brand new one?
We are. So this, just as a quick recap, this was a project where we distilled 12 different beers from 12 different breweries, all in the region. Sort of like herding cats, getting everyone together on it. But it was a really pretty fun project, and I don't think anyone else has done something like this. And we've gone through the first 9 whiskeys. So essentially in a year, we'll have put out 12 different whiskeys, which was a feat. They're all 5 years old, and the latest 3 we have are from Long Trail, which is a Vermont brewery, and Two Roads, which is a Connecticut brewery. And then closer to us, we have Chatham Brewery, which is right over the border in New York, and a smaller craft brewery in Chatham, New York.
So now, as you head towards the first of all, how's the reception been? Obviously, to the public, to the Craft Brewers Project, but what about the brewers themselves? What about the businesses you've teamed up with? Have they been happy, and have they been successful with it?
It's been great. I love these types of collaborations for multiple reasons. Obviously, it's great synergy on a business standpoint, but to be able to partner up with people that have kindred spirits and are doing some really fun things has been very rewarding. So I think that there's if you were to look at sort of Venn diagrams of beer drinkers and craft whiskey drinkers, there's quite a bit of overlap. And so our patrons tend to be somewhat of the same types of people. And so the people that are enjoying these beers really like to be able to enjoy it in a distilled whiskey, and vice versa. So the breweries have been fantastic. They've been supportive. They're posting on social media. Unfortunately, we've run out of a bunch of them. We have kind of cached away a little bit of those. So we'll be having a second release on some of them, probably at the 6-year-old mark by then. And then we've actually started to redistill from some of them already, like Two Roads and Big Elm right down the street from us. We added Night Shift Brewing, which is out near Boston. So the feedback's been great. The breweries have all been a lot of fun to work with. And it's, for them, they get to taste their genetics of their beer and a whiskey. So I think it must be fun for them as well.
So as you look at the business right now, when you branch off into this project like the Craft Brewers Whiskey Project, for people that are listening that don't understand how this works, give the timeline from when you start a project to when you actually then send it out to the public. Is it a long time? Is it an involved process?
So these are whiskeys, and we've been, as a craft distillery, we try super hard not to release anything before it's time. What's that old Gallo line about no wine before it's time? So we'll let stuff sit for, usually minimum of 4 years. And then the project takes a year to put together. And then there's, the labeling and the marketing and the bottling. So on a 4-year-old whiskey, it's probably a 5-year project. On a 6-year-old whiskey, it's a 7-year project. So it has been in the making for a while. Definitely, there's a bit of a watch pot component to it, where we try not to taste the barrels too frequently. And that's the whiskey type spirits. We do make a bunch of custom gins for people, where they can blend their own botanical tastes and pick things from our garden. Or in the case of something like Blue Hill Stone Bar and Stan Barber, they've actually have a forager that would bring up some of the stuff that they wanted to work with. And the gins that don't have to age, that can be a several month turnaround. But for the whiskey projects, it does take a little patience.
Well, I just wanted to, I think that people might misunderstand when we say craft brewers project. It's not like brewing beer.
Well, the brewers have to brew the beer.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's a separate process of what you do all
that's
together.
A totally separate process. And that may be a month, call it a month. And then we would bring the beer to the distillery, and it takes us a few weeks to distill. We do what's called a stripping run, where we'll just get we'll get all the alcohol out of the beer, but it's not very voluminous. And then we'll do that for the whole batch of beer we have. And then we'll run it through a second distillation, and then what we call a polishing run, or a third distillation. And then it gets cut down with our spring water and put into a barrel for, 4, 5, 6 years. So, It is somewhat of an onerous process, but nothing worth it is easy, I think.
We're speaking with Chris Weld, once again, Berkshire Mountain Distillers. All right, so you're coming upon your anniversary. Do you have events planned already, or are you just in the process of setting up the events?
I think combination of both. It's been, I'm always scrambling, trying to catch up and keep up, and we've got a great team here, and we're all firing on all cylinders, and 15 years is a big one for us. So, it's been wonderful to be in the Berkshires. That I always say has been a great nursery to start a business in. We've received incredible support from the community and are very appreciative of that. And, we've also been able to give back in our own way, and we sponsor a lot of events, which has been great. So, we have some wonderful things in the making for this year. I think one of them is that we've been redoing the outside of the distillery quite a bit, and with just more people up in the area from COVID and now Canada tourism, we tend to be a lot busier at the store. So we put in a pavilion last year with a fire pit. We have a cocktail wagon that will get going this summer. And the grounds are just getting better every year. So we'll probably put in a couple more outdoor structures. We're finding that there are more people who want a place to sit, especially outside during these COVID times. So we'll be doubling the space we have outside, which is nice. We do have 2 big things coming up this summer. One of them is we're working with a Berkshire institution on figuring out a live music program here at the distillery, which will be great. And that's coming on board for the summer, we think. And then the other thing is that we're working on a cultural cocktail sort of extravaganza. It's going to be a countywide program that will feature a lot of the cultural institutions in the Berkshires, as well as a lot of the bars and restaurants. And, just hopefully trying to bring some recognition to the wonderful cultural institutions that we have here in the Berkshires. And my hope is that by the summertime, things will have loosened up even a bit more COVID wise, and people will be out socializing and raising a glass together and enjoying the Berkshires.
Once again, we're speaking with Chris Weld, Berkshire Mountain Distillers. Now, as I sit here listening to you talk about your plans and what's going on, when you started the distillery, did you think that you were going to have this much community involvement?
It was certainly the hope. When I first started, it was at my farm, so we didn't have a public presence. And I was hopeful that if you made a good, spirit, that people would be supportive, and people were. And the Berkshires were. I mean, it's been great. It's been a wonderful spot to start a business. And honestly, the Berkshires, from a population standpoint, aren't isn't a large percentage of the state, but a large percentage of our sales are made here in the Berkshires, which just, shows to go you that people here have been really supportive. And for us, we try and not compromise. We put out a really good product, and I think for people, it's nice for them to be able to support a local business, but not compromising on the quality that they're consuming. So it's been a win-win.
For the people that aren't in the Berkshires, did demographics stay the same for the people that look for your products as it is in the Berkshires, or does it tend to be younger or older, or is it the same?
I think the demographic probably marches out relatively the same. I mean, we're a higher end spirit. I think I've said before that we make in a 1,000 years what Jack Daniel's makes in a year. So our capacity is very small. We focus on quality, and therefore we're not able to get distribution everywhere. We can't supply it all the time. We had a hard time keeping up with bourbon this year, which is a good thing. Part of it, just production, we have to wait for it to turn 4 years old. And then we also got hit with a bunch of supply chain things as well. But I think that the demographics kind of hold true throughout our region.
Once again, Berkshire Mountain Distillers. You can find them on the web at I think it's BerkshireMountainDistillers.com. Am I right there?
That is correct. Yeah.
But you also, if you have a Facebook presence, you also have a Twitter presence, you also have a presence on Instagram, and if people want for the actual distillery product, once you go to your webpage, you can find out more about all the information about what goes on. Now, what are your hours at the distillery right now as we speak here in the beginning of March?
Right now, we're 7 days a week, 11 to 5. We have complimentary tastings, nice days, a fire going outside. On the weekends, there's a spot to sit inside if it's not too pleasant outside. And at the moment, so we just have our 3 new releases, the Two Roads American Whiskey, the 8-barrel from Chatham, and the Long Trail Unearthed that are all in the store right now. The Chatham 8-barrel being a smaller brewery, and they're fairly flat out as well. We weren't able to get as much beer from them as we wanted, so it's a smaller release and available at the distillery only for the moment. So those are all brand new in the distillery, and they round out the 12. I think there are about 6 of them available. Most of the others, as I said, had sold out, some of it temporarily and some of it for good, unfortunately.
Well, once again, Berkshire Mountain Distillers in Sheffield, Massachusetts. Chris, always great to speak to you. Keep us updated when you get the calendars set for your 15th anniversary. A little more set in stone. Let us know.
When I can reveal the projects in full detail, I will let you know. Appreciate the time. Great to chat.